Hey, what's up everyone? Tim here from Everyday Tactical Vids. Today I want to talk to you about survival kits. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at a survival kit that came to me from Gata. Their website is Gata Pack, G-A-T-A-P-A-C-K, so Gata Pack. These guys sent me a while ago, they sent me a 3-day, one-person bag that is this kit right here. And to this point, as far as a one-man kit that's pre-made for you, this is the best one I've seen on the market. So I'll put a link to their website down below so you can find out more about their products and what they offer. This pack has things that I think are really helpful in most survival scenarios, not an apocalyptic thing, but it's like a hurricane hits town, a huge storm hits town, a wildfire, you gotta grab a bag and get out of town. This has a lot of really good gear that's gonna be helpful in those types of situations. So links to that are down below, but I wanna talk about this kit right here. And the thing about this kit is I want to address the idea of realistic survival kits. I had to shift locations due to the sun, but anyhow, we're talking about survival kits, and in particular, an outdoor survival kit. So let's talk about the reality of a survival situation and then probably what's not reality. I love a good tomahawk, but in a survival situation where, for example, I'm out hunting in the woods, I'm out hiking in the woods, I get injured or lost, separated from my party, whatever, I'm gonna have to spend the night. A tomahawk is not at the top of my list. I've said this a bunch of times, but for me in New Hampshire, fire is going to be the top priority. If I can get a big enough fire, I can probably quickly throw a little shelters to block the weather from me, and a fire is going to be a huge deal. Now, food, obviously long term, that's going to be something I want. So if you do the research, you're looking at about 48 hours, 2 days to get rescued. If it goes much beyond that, it's really getting into a dire circumstance. So you're looking, let's say 48 hours to 72 hours, 2 or 3 days. What do I need to just hunker down, signal, let people know I'm here, and stay warm, stay alive so that they can come find me? So I was looking at this pack, this $30 survival kit on their website. I'm looking continually for like the best pre-made kits, and then I'm actually in the back of my head pulling some of the pieces out of these various kits and building one for me that I will show in a future video. But let's take a look at this survival kit. Okay, first of all, it comes in this bright purple case, which is good. It's easier to see than something that's black or dark. There's also hook and loop here, and with the hook and loop, you can attach one of their Velcro patches, and this actually glows in the dark. If that gets some light, that Gata is going to glow in the dark. They also have available these from reflective stickers from Ultimate Survival Technologies, and you can stick this on various pieces of gear so they're easier to find. They'll catch some light. Now again, if you don't have a headlamp or a flashlight, it can be challenging, but it gives you a little bit better chance to discover this in case you drop it or can't locate it at night. All right, so I'm sort of familiar with some of the gear in this, but I'm not super familiar, so I'm gonna be giving you some thoughts and feedback as I actually look at it to let you know what I think about it. So take it out of this pouch, which obviously I can use this to collect things if I needed to do so. It's got a little handle, which is nice there. And it comes in a lock sack, so these are great. This is gonna keep all the materials inside dry. Big win. All right, so let's open this up and see what we have inside. Okay, first off, we have a fire steel. So we've got the fire steel. We also have the scraper. It actually says on this, keep the spark alive on the scraper. So you don't need an additional knife to, scrape this. For any survival kit, people are like, what's your best survival knife? I'm actually going with fire and shelter before I'm focused on a knife. A knife is a great tool. Give me a $6 Mora, I'm happy, but I'm looking for other things prior to a knife. So you've got this to get a fire started, and if you're familiar with these, there's a whistle there in the fire steel scraper. So that's good, and it comes with a lanyard as well, so it's going to keep those pieces of gear together. Now, for any fire kit, for any kit, period, any survival kit, you got to know how to use the gear. You can't just buy it, throw it in a pack, and be like, okay, I'm good. So if you're out in the woods a lot, you're hiking, you're hunting, buy a kit or build a kit, and then from there, practice with the kit so you know how to use all the materials in it, all right? Fire steel is no good if you don't know how to use a fire steel. So there's our first item, in addition to obviously the bag that it comes in and the lock sack bag. Then we get some bright orange paracord. Now I'm gonna open this up, or unwind it, I guess I should say, and I'm gonna roll in right here on the bottom of the screen how much it is according to their website. I have my tape measure, it's a little bit of ways here, but just to ballpark it. So let's measure it just by length of arm here. So let's say 3 feet, 6 feet, 9 feet, 12 feet, maybe 15 feet of paracord. Bright orange is good. That way it's going to be easier to spot for you and easier to spot for somebody else. So good to have a little cordage. They're always trying to balance out in pre-made kits from these guys, you know, how much money do you want to invest in the kit versus at what point people are going to say, I'm not going to buy it. I personally would probably say, give me 50 feet instead of, you know, 15, 20 feet. But good to have some cordage nonetheless. And you probably know this already, but if you can get into the inner strands, this has basically been sealed off, you know, it's been heated up so that it's closed up at the end, it's not frayed, but there are inner strands that you can use for various purposes as well. All right, so fire steel, got some cordage, 3 quick tinder, I'm trying to get the light right. There we go. 3 quick tinder tabs or tinder quicks. I always forget if it's quick tinder or tinder quick. I think it's tinder quick, but anyhow. So these are great for starting a fire. You don't have to use the whole thing to start a fire either. It's a pretty nice day. It's been damp here in New Hampshire, but if it was raining, I would, you know, still probably use maybe half of one and then add additional ones if I had to use that to get the fire going. So there's 3. And for me, one thing is that, like, if I'm in a survival situation, once I get a fire started, I'm doing everything I can to keep that fire alive. Like, people are like, well, I'll move somewhere else and start another fire. Nope, for me, I'm either staying with the fire or I'm bringing the fire. Because if I get into another location that's better, but I'm freezing cold, that's not going to be good. So that's a big deal for me. Once I get a fire started, I want to keep it going. They do have a utility razor in there, so you can do a little bit of slicing. Obviously not super aggressive work, but you've got a cutting tool at least, and be careful when you close it. They are extremely sharp. This comes with a couple zip ties as well, which are great for repairing gear. Again, it comes with 2, so if I got this, I would go to Lowe's or Home Depot and buy, you know, probably a pack of 50 and put another maybe 4 in there, 4 or 5 in there. So I've got a handful of zip ties, but a good item for an urban scenario or even a wilderness scenario as well for repairing gear. So good to have some zip ties in there. Compass, huge deal if you get lost in the woods. I mean, certainly in a non-wilderness situation, urban scenario, suburban scenario, these can be helpful, but definitely in a woods scenario where you're lost or need to survive, this is great to have. Some of the ones out there are just poorly made. What I always do is I always try to spin these things around, turn in different directions and see if it'll reorient itself. So yeah. This is good. North is that way behind me. You know, if you bought this, I would maybe attach one of those little glow-in-the-dark stickers to it so you don't lose it, or you can somehow attach a little lanyard to it so it's got something attached so you can keep it with your other gear. Maybe put a small plastic carabiner through a bunch of your gear to keep it all together. So speaking of reflective gear, they do give you this, which has adhesive on the back. Now you can put this on your gear to find it in case you drop it. That's going to assume you have some sort of light to shine on it. Also, this is good to get somebody's attention, especially at night. If you put this, you know, you heard somebody off in the woods and they were shining a light and you started doing this, they could pick you up. You could cut that into 2 or 3. I mean, you could cut that into 20 strips if you wanted to, and attach it to various trees around so people would spot it if they were shining a light looking for you at night. So tiny little item, but definitely helpful. This is a big deal for me, the fact that they include a Mylar blanket, because this is going to be warmth and also shelter. I did a test, I'll put a link at the end of this video to it, about what a heat difference these make, and I basically called myself a human baked potato because I was wrapped up in it, and I think it was like a 30-degree difference between the outside temperature and the temperature just in the air as I kind of huddled this thing around me. I've got a video I'll put at the end of this video where I built this survival kit basically based around the sheath and the top's kukri, and I built this, I use this as my, you know, my tarp covering basically for my shelter, and it did start to rain and it keeps the rain out. So these things are not super strong, so you don't want to beat on them, but great to have a Mylar blanket included. I find a lot of survival kits don't include this because of the size, which I understand is a challenge, but these are definitely a big win, especially if you can't have a full-size tarp. Mylar blanket is a win. All right, now we're getting to more of an urban scenario. So you've got some earplugs in here, and in an urban scenario, you know, having something to protect your ears can be helpful. Probably not the most helpful thing in a survival scenario in the woods, but not a high cost item. You could swap this out for something else. So these next 3 items are a little bit interesting. You've got 2 pieces of Write in the Rain paper and a pencil. Now, people are like, what am I going to write a story? No, of course not. But you could write notes if you had to leave a note and say, here's where I went from this location. You could write notes on things you're remembering, like this time of day. It seems like there's planes flying overhead, so you remember that for yourself. You could also burn this. as well. If you got through your tinder and you still needed something dry, keep this in the sack and you should be good to go. This is not a high cost item within the kit, so having that thrown in there I think is good. I probably would put this in if I built my own kit. I wouldn't probably put a whole Right in the Rain pad in there. I don't need all the paper, but for a 48 to 72 hour scenario, I think this could actually be helpful. Roll of duct tape, great for repairing things, great for medical purposes. I actually, one time, a buddy and I had driven his truck out into the woods, and we were driving in the snow, and then it was a really nice spring day, and so the truck sunk into the snow, so we had to dig it out. And at one point I was prying ice out, and my steel shovel came up and caught me right above the eye, and I cut myself pretty good. So I put duct tape on it, taped it up, we dug out, we drove out. I got to my car, I went to the hospital to get stitches, and the guy was like, well, doesn't really need stitches, you did a good job with the duct tape. So they glued it up and I was good to go. So medical purposes definitely, and then just general repair and stuff like that. A quick hack for you is that if you get blisters, like if you've got bone spurs, like I've got a couple bone spurs on the back of my foot, I put duct tape on before I start hiking, then my socks and then my boots. Then I avoid getting the hot spots and blisters and stuff like that. So duct tape, definitely a good item as well. Now these items go together. We've got Micro Pure MP1 from Caddydyne, and these are basically to purify your water. I'm just looking at what it says on it as far as instructions. To use, remove the tablet from its foil packaging, quickly insert into 1 quart of water, allow to react for 4 hours. The treated net water is now ready for drinking. So you've got 2 tabs in here, so that's going to give you 2 quarts of water. Now you're like, that's great, but what am I supposed to do if I don't have any way to carry water? I'm glad you brought that up, because what we have here, these are great. They are officially called Whirl Pack, and this is a stand-up bag, the Whirl Pack stand-up bag, and that's how big it is. So you fill it with water, and then it's made to basically spin around. It's kind of weird, but spin around so it goes like this, and then you can close it off. These are great. They're very strong. They're able to be very compact, and now you've got an opportunity to get some clean water. Do you want to boil something, or do you want to heat this over a fire? You actually could in a survival scenario, but you've got enough water, right? Oh, you've got tabs now to get a couple quarts of water, so that's definitely good to have those 2 items together. Sometimes you get like a purification tablet and then you get no way to carry the water, and that's not actually helpful at all. Now additionally, I just want to note, you do have the lock sack, so if you have another way that you can carry the gear, if you've got a big pocket on your jacket, you could carry water in this as well. So just note that. A couple more items here. Got a very small set of tweezers, which are, you know, a small helpful medical tool. I would include in this ibuprofen and acetaminophen, maybe a couple other small medical things, even a couple band-aids. They're lightweight, but those are the things you can add at home and save the cost from paying the company to do it. Just make some additions at home. We've got some of these little chemical light sticks. Show you that. So you snap these and they're going to give you some light. They will actually light up an area around you bugs are coming back, in a very limited way. You're not going to walk around camp, you know, holding it out like that. But if you drop something, you could shine it on the ground to try and find it. The other thing is that these will stand out in the woods. If you put these in a location where somebody can see them, then they're going to be like, what is that glowing thing in the woods? So that's the second to last item. And then this is a huge win for me. They've included waterproof matches, and there's your striker on the back. Now I already have a fire steel, but I'm a big believer, especially around fire, to have multiple ways to make fire. So for me, I would have this, I would have the fire steel, I'd throw probably some more tinder in there, and I'd probably throw a lighter in as well. I might even add more to these on my own, but I love the fact that they have multiple options for starting fire. I think that's a huge, huge win. Here's my opinion. With any pre-made survival kit, what you should do is you should get it and train with it, and then ask yourself, what other items do I want to add? So would I add a Mora to this? Absolutely. Or like a Victorinox? Absolutely. Those are 2 great options. So you've got a good cutting tool out there in the woods. Are there other things you can add? You could add a ton more. I mean, you can make it into a backpack instead of this small kit. The thing I just encourage you 1,000 times over is, I have never heard a person say when they were in a survival scenario, I wasn't surprised I was in a survival scenario. It's always like, I can't believe I had to be in that scenario. So what I would encourage you to do is get a kit like this. I think this is a great kit. This gets like probably an A- from me. Couple other items I would add in, but just a lot of really good foundational items for realistic survival. not zombie apocalypse, not these crazy scenarios, but realistic survival, especially in the woods. I would get one of these, I would add a couple items. Every single time I went hiking, I would be like, checklist, boots, map, compass. Am I telling somebody where I went? And do I have my survival kit? Throw this into your bag. It's small, it's lightweight. One of the big wins I find is that this, because it's small and lightweight, you're more likely to include it. When your survival kit gets so big that you're like, oh man, it's all the extra weight, it's taking up all the space, and you're like, well, I can't fit so-and-so's food or my extra Nalgene or my extra jacket, I'll just leave the survival kit. That's when you actually need it. So the fact that it's really compact and you can carry it, it's just a win overall. Let me encourage you guys with one other thing. Get out into the woods, get out into the wilderness, enjoy it, love it, but be careful, be safe. You don't have to spend like, you know, $7,000 on training and $10,000 on gear to know how to stay alive if something goes wrong. You may just sprain an ankle out there, totally innocent mistake that you made, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm gonna be stuck here for the next 18 hours until someone comes and finds me. So having a little bit of experience like making a fire in not great scenarios, making a fire in with different types of materials to get the fire started. Also, you know, throwing up your shelter, getting it organized and set up so that you could hunker down. So yeah, this survival kit from Gata pack, I'm definitely giving them a thumbs up. I've got links down below in the description section if you want to pick up this pack or some of their other survival gear. I've liked working with these guys. They don't make 50,000 kits, but the kits that they make I have been quite impressed with so far. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on this kit and on other kits as well. Once again, I got links in the description section to my baked potato video and also to my top survival kit video as well. I'd like to hear your thoughts on those, and I'd like to say, as always, guys, thanks for watching the videos here on YouTube. Please subscribe to Everyday Tactical Vids. Click that little red subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, check us out on Instagram, Tumblr, and Vero as well. More videos coming soon. Take care.